thought I broke the table for a second. What is up, BCC Youth? You guys having a good week so far? Who in this room went to the upperclassmen retreat this last weekend? I see a couple hands over there. Anybody else? Couple hands over here. I heard a yes, sir, somewhere. Was that behind me? Yeah. So, was it the best weekend of your life, or was it just kind of like It was cool. Yeah, I like that. That's an honest answer. It was refreshing, right? It's nice to have weekends like that where you can just kind of get away. You know, as I ramble a little bit more, as I, open this up to awkwardly, Does that ever happen to you guys? You get a little awkward? Who feels awkward right now? You are welcome. Okay, let's jump into this. So, for the past few weeks now, we have been in a series called I'm Not That Spiritual. I'm not that spiritual. Anyone listen to Britney Spears? Is that like, I'm a 90s baby, man, so like Britney Spears, me as a 5-year-old, she was my first crush. I tell you what, when I was 5 years old. Anyway, moving on. So, the purpose of this whole series is for us as followers of Jesus to be equipped, set up for success as we follow him in this broken, less than perfect world, following a perfect God. It sets us up for those things. So a lot of these spiritual disciplines apply to our every single day life. So the purpose of these is not so that, like we see you guys on Wednesday nights, some of you come on Sunday mornings. It's not just for you to be a good Christian on Wednesdays, right? It's not for you to be a good Christian on Sundays. It's for you to be a good Christian on Monday morning when you're getting ready to go to school and you don't want to. How many of you guys are with me there? I don't like getting up early to go to work on a Monday morning after I've had a fun retreat over the weekend. I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to go back to work. So the first week, Pastor Jay introduced this whole idea of the spiritual disciplines. He gave us a sneak peek of what the following weeks would look like, told us the importance of these topics. Last week, who's here last week? Show of hands. A few of you. Last week was awesome. I was kind of misunderstanding. I knew that we were going to hear from Peggy, but I was like, where's Peggy at? And then we played the video. I was like, oh yeah, that's what he said. Okay. I thought she was going to talk about what she did in the podcast, but I was like, you know what? Why work twice at something when you can just play the awesome conversation that already happened, right? I loved last week because prayer is something that I just really want to grow in myself. And Peggy's prayer life is one of the most inspiring prayer lives that I've ever seen. And if you've ever had a chance to get to talk to her, it's probably one of the most entertaining conversations you'll ever have because she is a passionate person. And you will always get a sense that she just cares about you. I see Jay back there nodding his head a little bit because he was raised, that's his stepmother. Peggy is Jay's stepmother. So she is awesome. If you weren't here last week, it's on the podcast, the Complete Student Podcast. Go ahead and check it out. You will not be disappointed because prayer is a powerful, powerful tool. And so, like I addressed earlier, the upperclassmen retreat, I'm sure you guys learned some stuff there. I'm sure it was a nice, refreshing weekend to just take time to get close to God and to have fun with one another. I was so bummed that I couldn't get there. I had a little bit more work to do, so I couldn't make it, but I know you guys were in good hands. So tonight's topic I'm really excited to talk about because it's one of those things, for some reason, it's kind of overlooked and just kind of set off to the side we talk about this on special occasions, and, it's something that not everyone has to do, that's what people think, and it's something that you just maybe once in a while if you do it. Let's pray together. Father, I thank you so much for who you are, God, and I thank you for the roadmap that is the Bible, giving us these spiritual disciplines, God, because we're not coming up with this on our own. Thank you that you give us tools and how-tos, tutorials, if you will, to walk out this Christian life. So, God, I pray that we would all learn something tonight and that we'd be able to make decisions to follow you in step every day. In Jesus' name, amen. So, this thing that I'm talking about that some people want to leave for the special occasion is the topic in the discipline of fasting. Who knows what fasting is? Just a few of you. Okay, has anyone heard of fasting in this room? Would you be able to adequately explain all the intricate details of what fasting is? I heard a no. Well, you are in the right place tonight, my friend, whoever said no. And as I was prepping for this, I was like, I don't really know a whole lot about how to explain fasting, so it was fun diving into this and learning a little bit more. Another reason I'm excited to talk about this is because in my life, it's been one of the most useful tools in my growth, in my personal relationship with God. And this topic has a good amount packed into it. So I'm not going to be able to fit all of it in tonight. It could be a whole series on its own. But consider this, if you will, just fasting 101, like the intro to fasting. All the things you'll need to know if you want to do this thing tomorrow or today, next week, and continue to practice it throughout your life. So it's something new, as we've all agreed. Most of us in the room, we're kind of we've heard it before, but don't really know a whole lot about it. Whenever I discover something new, I go through 3 levels of understanding. Everyone say 3 levels. Hold up a 3. Do people hold the 3 like that, or you do it like that? Like that. It's kind of hard. I have short fingers, so it's hard to get my pinky and thumb to connect. So this is a lot easier. So everyone say 3 levels. 3 levels. 3 whats? 3 whats? 3 levels. Okay, so these 3 levels, we're going to dive into these 3 levels. These 3 levels are a series of questions that I ask to achieve understanding of a new topic. Level 1 is what, or what, if you pronounce it that way. So level 1, first question I ask is what? What is this thing you're telling me to do? If someone's suggesting that I do something, I always want to know, what is this thing that you're trying to tell me to do? So that's level 1. Everyone say what? What? Level 2. Level 2 is why. Everyone say why. Why? Why is this? Yeah, I know what it is now, but why is this something that I should include in my life? What is the purpose for it? It's cool if you do it, but why do I have to do it? Type of thing. So that's number 2. And once we get a grasp on what it is and why we should have it in our lives, why I should have it in my life, I want to know how. There you go. You got it. How. Level 3 is how. How do I do this so that I can experience it to its full potential, so I can do it to the best of my ability, so I can gain all of the good stuff out of it. So we're going to go into those 3 levels. Are you with me? All right, let's jump into those 3 levels. Level 1. Level 1 is where you sit currently. Level 1 is the place where your starting block is. Level 1 is the first few strides that you take in any new thing that you want to acquire in your life. And the first level is what? First level is what? Good job. I thought I was going to trick you on there. So, what? Level 1. What is fasting? Fasting, it's not just running super fast. It's not getting fast through homework. It's not doing things as fast as you possibly can. I tried to find a real old definition of it, and I couldn't really find. Jay went to Bible college, and he's got a degree, and he's got a lot of credentials. So ask him if you want to know the translations and stuff. I probably should have asked you. My bad. We'll go over this a different time. So fasting. Anyways, Fasting in the Bible, refers to a discipline of abstaining from food for a limited time in order to give greater attention to spiritual purposes. Now, you've heard of intermittent fasting before, right? Who's heard of intermittent fasting? With all the craze of social media, buff people, influencers who talk about intermittent fasting. I know nothing about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. I just wanted to see if you guys had heard it before. It's different. It's similar, but it's different. That's for a different purpose. But for the biblical purpose, we see many, many examples of people doing this in the Bible. I'll list a few rapid fire for you real quick. There's tons of them, so I'm just going to list off 3. In Daniel 10:3 says, I ate no choice food, no meat or wine touched my lips. Exodus 34:28. Moses was with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. So the 10 commandments came from him fasting. Where am I at? Luke 4:24. For 40 days, Jesus was tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those days, and at the end of them, he was hungry. I'd be hungry too. The devil said to him, if you are the Son of God, tell this stone to become bread. I don't know if that's how the devil talked. Never mind. Jesus answered, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone. So those are just a few, but there are so many other examples. Like just, if you do this thing, flip the Bible open and you might find a place where people were fasting. Because people did it a lot. It's a good discipline to have. So there's just a few. So fasting is just simply setting aside food or another routine thing that you do, it could be TV or anything, for a specified amount of time in order to focus in on God. So that is level 1. Who feels like they passed level 1 successfully? I'm seeing a lot of yeses. You're ready to go on to level 2? Okay, so where you sit, everybody stand up for me. Don't stand up for me, stand up for yourself. Grab your chair and take one step forward with your chair. Okay, we're on to level 2. All right. Now sit in your chair. You are now sitting in level 2. Who remembers what level 2 is? Who remembers level? Oh, it's okay. Cheat codes are allowed. They're allowed. When I played video games, I typed in cheat codes all the time. Playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you can't beat that game without cheat codes. So level 2 is why. Level 2 is why. Why is one of my favorite questions to ask. Some of you, it's also probably one of your favorite questions to ask, or if you have younger siblings, it's one of their favorite questions to ask. I don't like just going through the motions. I want to know why we're doing something. So if someone tells me to do something, and I'm like, cool, that sounds good. What is that? Why do I need to do it? I don't want to just do it because you tell me so. I'm not that kind of person. I kind of want to know what the purpose of it is. Why is it going to benefit me? I'm a millennial, also known as Generation Y. So I remember growing up, I don't know if it's just like the age group I was in, but I remember one of my teachers said, about your generation. It actually wasn't a redneck dude. She was probably like a 30-year-old woman, so I don't know why I'm using that. Anyways, so she's like, something about your generation is you guys just like ask why all the time. You're just like, why do we do this? Why do we do that? So you guys, the Generation Y, for some reason that stuck with me, and I'm proud of it. Generation Y, not the letter Y, Generation Y. That's my generation. Could be yours too, but it's my generation. So, why? Why do we need to fast? Why is it a good idea? Because Jesus tells us to. Jesus tells us to fast. In the book of Matthew, we see Jesus give all kinds of groundbreaking teachings and it revolutionized the way people thought. He talked about prayer, generosity, love, revenge even, sin, worry, marriage, judging, and so many other things. And he also talked about what? Fasting. There we go. I wouldn't have mentioned that. So, in Matthew 6, it says, when you fast, pause. When you fast. You'll notice it does not say if you fast. It does not say if you fast. Jesus says when you fast. You know, fasting, like I said earlier, it's not just something that we need to just do on special occasions. It's not something that leaders and pastors do. He was talking to the crowds of common people, whoever wanted to show up and listen to them. He was talking to anybody who wanted to follow him. He didn't say if you fast. He said when you fast. So it's safe to assume that in a balanced Christian life, you're going to have fasting be a part of it on a regular basis. It'll become a regular part of it. But here's that question again. Why? Why does he tell us to do it? Well, I'm glad you asked. As a millennial, you know, and a generally curious person, I'm usually never satisfied with the answer because I said. Who else is like me? Like, I don't want to just do something because you said, because I said. Something to note is good for us. I don't always want to just listen to because I said, so I ask again. It leads me to ask the question, why again? And this second why gets me a deeper answer. And the more times you ask why, it will get you to better understanding. So, ask why. Like, questions are awesome. I love asking questions. But why? It's good for us. Something to note, whenever God says to do something in the Bible, not just about fasting, about anything in the Bible. Open the Bible, and if there's something that he's telling you to do, it's not just because he says so. I mean, it is because he says so, but it's always for our benefit and for the benefit of building his kingdom. Whenever God tells us to do something, and then for that matter, when he tells us not to do something, to stay away from sin and all these other things, that's also to benefit us and to benefit building his kingdom. Still with me? Sweet. So earlier I said it's been one of the most useful tools in my life. Something that I've done frequently, especially in my years in Master's Commission, because I was like on a rapid growth state. And it's something that I want to start doing more again. But whenever I feel like I'm stuck in a rut spiritually, whenever I felt like there's like just some sin in my life that I can't shake off, or I'm just not growing, and I feel like there's just a ceiling that I can't get past. Or sometimes some of you in this room will be like, I don't have clarity, like I don't know where I'm supposed to go to college. Some of you guys are graduating in a month. You might be like, I don't know where I'm going to go to college. I don't know if I'm going to go straight into work. I don't know if I'm going to do the military. There's so many things. You know, or as you get a little older, you're like, is this a person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Is this somebody that I want to marry? Is this someone that I should like ask out on a date or something? It could be time to fast. And if I ever hear somebody, if I'm ever in a conversation with someone and they say, you know what, man, I just don't feel God. I don't hear him. I don't feel close to him at all. One of my first things that I always ask them, because I love questions, one of my first things I ask them is, hey, have you ever tried fasting? And then it leads into this whole 3 levels thing, like, what's fasting? Why did I do that? How do I do that? So I ask, have you ever tried fasting? Because again, in my life, it's been so important and so pivotal. And whenever I do it right, I always feel so refreshed. I have a new passion for God. I'm excited about the future, and it makes me want to build his kingdom further. And I get to be a little bit more like him in the process whenever I do it right. But how do I do it right? I'm glad you asked, Paul. How do I do it right? Now you're asking the right questions. Welcome to level 3. You guys are way ahead of it. Follow suit. These guys are leading us. So move your seat one more step forward to level 3. Welcome to the final level of tonight's training period. Welcome to the how level. Welcome to how. Okay, all right, let's regroup here. I know that's fun, but let's regroup. Let's go back to Matthew Let's go back to Matthew 6, verses 16 through 18. When you fast, there's that when again, do not look somber as the hypocrites do. Nobody wants to be a hypocrite. For they disfigure their faces to show men that they are fasting. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to men that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So it says, when you fast, don't look somber as hypocrites do. Don't make it obvious that you're fasting. Don't walk around and be like, oh man, I'm so hungry. Anybody get hangry in here? There's a good amount of hands. I'm going to ask a second question because I love questions. Second question. Who in here knows somebody who gets hangry? Hands, everywhere, hands. Everybody knows somebody who gets hangry. People are there any restaurant workers in here? Anyone ever worked in a restaurant? Anyone ever worked fast food? Anything like that? Anything dealing with people's food? I don't know why. For some reason, people just get so angry about their food. I'm guilty of it myself. They forgot my pickles on this sandwich. I'm going to go back there and throw it back. I never have done that. You know, I don't get that hangry. Or here, how about this one? Some of you might be this person. We all know that person. We all know that don't talk to me till I've had my coffee person. Anyone know someone like that? I know people like that. Here's the thing about that. I've thought a lot about that type of person. Whenever I meet somebody like that, I think, don't talk to me till I've had my coffee. I think, can't you just be a nice person in the morning? Like, can't you just do that? Like, I just woke up too. Like, I just got ready for my day, and I'm like, I'm talking to you. Like, you're not royalty. Come on. Like, I just got here too. Because of that, I just stepped on my stepped on my shoelace and untied it. Do you want to tie that for me? Thanks, man. If you don't want to get recognized, what are you yelling for? It's okay, man. You got it. Dude, you got it. It's like bunny ears. Yeah, dude. Give it up for Caleb. High five, bro. Thank you for tying my shoe. Okay. Back to the topic at hand. Coffee people. I love coffee, but because of people who have been like, don't talk to me till I've had my morning coffee, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I'm just like, why can't you just be nice? Like, I woke up too. Because of that, I've made myself a happy guy in the room. I don't know if my wife is still here, but she will tell you that every morning I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic, with or without coffee. But I'll tell you who gets hangry. I got a picture of my son right here. Yep. He gets hangry. I tell you what, he gets now he's a baby, so he's not going to fast. He shouldn't fast. He's in his growing periods of life. That would be abusive if I had him fast. That would be a terrible idea. So he's not going to fast. But he gets super hangry. For example, let me just kind of paint a picture for you. Kind of like the morning coffee people. He usually eats first thing in the morning. He usually wakes up around 7:30, sometimes earlier. And he hasn't eaten for about 10 hours, Usually he'll go about every 4-ish hours between formula bottles. He won't go that long, but after 10 hours, I'll like wake up to my alarm sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'll check my monitor. I'm like, he's still sleeping, he's good. I'll shut it off, and like a couple minutes later, I'll like be dozing back into sleep, and I'll hear, Imagine waking up to that, especially at like 3 a.m. Imagine. It's terrifying. It's terrifying because sometimes I'm getting into a deep sleep and it gets kind of scary. I'm like, what is going on? Like, who's screaming? Then I just kind of regroup. I'm like, oh yeah, my son is hungry. So I get up, make myself happy, because I don't get a chance to get coffee before I feed him. Okay, back to the Bible. I'm done doing that stuff. Back to the Bible. So back to verse 17. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face. Don't be hangry. Don't be hangry if you fast, because that's the reward that you get. People will be like, oh, cool, you just get mad. Awesome, that's your reward. You get mad that you did something that's a little difficult. That's the reward that you're going to get. When you fast, put oil on your head so it won't be and wash your face so it won't be obvious to men that you're fasting, but only to your Father who's unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So the point is, if we're doing it for spiritual benefit, why are we going to be angry about it? Why are we going to complain all the way through it? If you're doing something for spiritual benefit, you don't need to tell everybody in the room, you don't need to tell your whole family that you're doing it or complain about doing it. You can tell people like, hey, pray for me in this. I'm going on this new thing I learned. Why be angry about it? At that point, we're just starving ourselves, and that's not healthy. That's never a good idea. Don't hear me say I'm telling you to not eat food to starve yourselves. Don't do that. But fasting, like I said earlier, isn't just a food thing. It could be a TV thing, could be a video game thing. You could give that up for a couple nights this week. You could give up TV. You could give up a certain kind of food. Like if you love candy, you could give up candy and sweets for a week. You can, hey guys, cool it for a sec. We're wrapping up. We're wrapping up, guys. So, but you could abstain from eating sweets or something like that. Just give something up that is like a regular distraction in your life for the purpose of spiritual benefit or for the purpose of getting close to God. So if I'm bored and want to watch TV, and if I'm fasting TV, I'll sit in God's presence and pray and seek Him. If I want to check my Instagram to see how many likes I got on my last picture, or want to see how many followers I got, because we're all chasing that comma at the top of our Instagram page, or the letter K. We're all chasing that. Okay, maybe not all of us. But it's a thing that you want, you want to see like, man, I got over 3,000 followers. That's awesome. I don't have that many, but I digress. So, and if I want to pick up the PlayStation or Xbox controller, and I feel like mowing down some cartoon characters, instead, I can decide to do some spiritual fighting for myself and shoot some prayer ammo at the demons and addictions that people are facing, like friends, family members, or if there's a friend that I know who doesn't know Jesus, if there's a family member that I know who doesn't know Jesus, I can spend time fighting and praying for them so that they can know Him. So I use my hunger. Here's what I want to focus in. I want to use my hunger in any sense, channel that hunger to seek the Lord. And you have to do it with prayer. You can't, like I said earlier, you can't just not eat food. There's not much benefit to that. But you have to fast and pray. They go hand in hand. If you want to take like another step with God, set something aside that's distracting and pray, seek Him. Use that as fuel and ammo. Use that hunger as fuel to run full force after Jesus and participate in building His kingdom. If you do it right, we just got done through the how. If you do it right, if you don't try to make yourself look like super spiritual, like, oh, I'm fasting. I'm hungry. I'm fasting. If you're doing it for that, then that's your reward. People will be like, oh, cool. Whatever. If you do it right, you will inevitably see God do something. So now that we've gone through those 3 levels of training, it's game time. To close tonight, I have one bonus level. One final question. Yeah, you can move up if you want. All right, I know we moved up, but it's still we're still in it, guys. So, bonus level. One final question, because I love questions. I'm not going to answer for you. Worship team, you can come up. That question we'll put up on the screen. So for a few minutes, if you're in the room and you're serious about taking another step closer to God, like I mentioned, the juniors and seniors who went on the retreat this weekend, you got some tools to take another step after God. And you probably got a little bit hungrier for God. So here's another step if you just want to like break through that ceiling and just really get close to God and be somebody that, you aspire to be, and do the things now for the person that you want to be tomorrow. So if you're serious about it, think of one thing this week. It can be for a day, it can be for a night, it can be for a morning, whatever, a certain amount of time. It can be food if you want, but a lot of you in here are still in like growing, like junior high specifically. Talk to your parents about that, and they'll probably be like, let's find a different way. If you have like any questions, like, hey, I don't really want to give up food for like a day or two, but what can I do, like, that I can just set aside, like I mentioned, TV, you can set aside a video game, any distraction, but you have to be intentional about it. So think of something. If you need to write it down in your phone, do that. And then ultimately just ask God what you can set aside. Because if you spend time in his presence, and he'll point things out if you're just silent before him. This isn't like really a prayer time where you need to talk a bunch. Just ask God, like, hey, what is it that I should set aside for a given amount of time this week so that I can use that time to seek you? So I'll just give you a few minutes to do that. It doesn't have to be like a super deep crying time, so if you don't feel bad about it. But this is a preparation for this week. This is where the rubber meets the road. You've learned how, and this in my life has been such a good tool for me to get closer to God. So I'm hoping that helped people. I had a bunch of fun talking about it. It's a really important topic to me. And like I said, it's been something that has just helped me through so much stuff. Like I've seen God do some awesome things. I've seen friends who I never saw as somebody who'd follow Jesus, know Jesus, after I've fasted and prayed to God about them. So, yeah, I'll give you a few minutes to just seek God, ask him about it, and then I'll come up and close. I'll pray us in. Father, thank you for who you are, God, and thank you again for the roadmap of the Bible that you give us in these disciplines that we can get down in our lives to seek you better and to know you deeper and to love you more and to see your kingdom built. God, thank you that you don't set these things up because you want to lord things over us, God, but you suggest things for us to do, God, and you give us commands, and not just because you personally want to, but God, you care so much about us that you want to give us things that will benefit us and things that will help us to draw close to you. So God, I pray that as these students and these leaders are writing things down and seeking you, I pray, God, that you'd pinpoint specific things to each person that they can set aside for a given amount of time over the next week. We love you, Lord. Let's take a few minutes.